The void of deep space stretched endlessly, a silent ocean of stars and distant nebulae shimmering against the dark. Commander Vexter stood on the observation deck of his flagship, the Harmonious Ascent, watching a small blue world rotate slowly on the main display. For nearly 7 weeks, 47 standard cycles, his fleet had monitored the planet from a safe orbit. From here, the world looked serene. White clouds drifting across vast oceans, continents lined with green and gold. Beautiful, yes, but beauty was never the deciding factor in first contact. Vexter, a tall Zilthran with silver-gray skin and elongated forearms, felt a faint ripple of unease. His species had wandered the stars for 3 millennia, charting unknown systems and meeting hundreds of civilizations. They had developed a refined tradition for initiating contact, mathematical proofs, universal physics markers, and a standard greeting encoded in several transmission formats. It had never failed, and it never changed. "Science Officer Kelma," Vexter said, his voice calm but firm. "Confirm once more. The transmission is ready." Kelma turned away from her console. Her 3 eyes blinked in sequence, a Zilthran gesture of certainty. "Affirmative, Commander." Messages prepared in radio bands, coherent light pulses, and quantum markers. Even if they lack the advanced receptors, they'll detect at least one format. Vexter nodded slowly. He had seen this process countless times. Normally, newly emerging species took days to realize they'd been contacted and weeks to decipher the greeting. After that came predictable chaos, political arguments, fear-driven broadcasts, conflicting regional responses. Eventually, they would respond, nervous, confused, but hopeful. "Transmit," Vexter ordered. A soft harmonic tone swept across the bridge as the message left the ship. The crew relaxed, knowing they now entered the long, uneventful waiting period. Vexter began walking toward his rest chamber, fully expecting several rotations of silence before anything significant happened. He reached his door. The alarms erupted. "Commander!" Kelma shouted through the intercom, her tone laced with disbelief. We have a response." Vexter froze, then rushed back onto the bridge. "That is impossible," he said. "Recheck all systems." Kelma's fingers danced across her console. "No errors, sir. Response is authentic. It originated from the planet's surface and, Commander, it follows our own communication protocol." The main display flickered, revealing the message. "Greetings to the Zilthran Imperial Scout Fleet. This is a United Earth Space Command. We acknowledge your transmission. A diplomatic delegation is en route and will arrive at your coordinates in 31 Earth hours. Please advise us of any life support or docking requirements." Silence gripped the bridge. Vexter read the message again. And again. "How?" Kelma whispered. "How did they respond so quickly?" Only 4 minutes passed. "No species has ever responded in under 20 days, Vexter muttered. "Check our records on Earth's communication infrastructure." Data swept across the consoles as the crew pulled information from the planet's open broadcasts. Vexter scanned the reports, his anxiety growing sharper. "Commander," Kelma said, "I believe you should see this." Earth's historical timeline appeared, violent, accelerated, volatile. The humans had achieved control flight only 250 years earlier. They reached orbit within a century of that. They colonized their moon and neighboring planet, while still embroiled in global conflicts. And more startling, they formed a unified planetary command structure 83 years ago. A single military authority, a species acting with complete coordination. Vexter felt a cold shiver ripple through his skin. "This is not a normal developmental pattern," he whispered. Kelman nodded. "They unify under pressure instead of collapsing. Their home world's constant disasters, predators, and wars, it forged them into something different." Another incoming message appeared. "Zilthran Fleet, this is UESC Diplomatic Corps. Our delegation has launched. 3 escort vessels accompany us for standard security measures. Please do not be alarmed." "Standard security?" Kelma repeated, stunned. Vexter exhaled slowly, stepping back toward the observation window. The peaceful world below suddenly seemed far more dangerous. "Prepare secure transmission to the Galactic Community Council," he said. "Tell them Humanity has responded, and there are complications. His crew exchanged uneasy glances. The humans were coming, and they were coming prepared. Commander Vexter had not slept, not even for a moment, since Earth's impossible 4-minute reply. The planet that seemed tranquil from orbit now loomed in his thoughts like a storm waiting to break open. In the quiet of his private chamber, he sifted through archived data from the galactic community's development records, hoping to find even a single species that resembled humanity's evolution. He found none. Every chart followed a familiar rhythm: agriculture, metallurgy, internal wars, stabilization, and then a deliberate march toward the stars after centuries of peace. Humanity, however, had hurtled into space with reckless urgency, not after peace, but in the middle of conflict. Kelma arrived at his door, clearly distressed. "Commander, the analysis you requested is complete." She held a datapad against her chest, as though bracing herself. "Show me," Vexter said. Kelma activated a holographic projection. The model of the human solar system spiraled into view, dotted with color markers indicating stationed colonies and defensive arrays. "Sir," she said softly, "humanity has fortified every corner of their system. Armed orbital platforms at multiple gravity nodes, shielded science stations, and military detachments on their moon and Mars. They even placed sentry satellites beyond their outermost planet." Vexter frowned. "Defensive positioning is normal. For us, yes, but not at this speed." Kelma zoomed the projection. "They constructed what would take most species 150 to 200 years in under 50. The diagram shifted to human spacecraft designs. Brutal angles, reinforced hulls, thick armor plating even on civilian ships. Notice this," Kelma continued. "Cargo vessels with quick-convert hardpoints. Passenger ships with evacuation systems meant for combat conditions. Their exploration craft could be warships with minor modifications." Vexter inhaled sharply. "These ships aren't built for beauty. They're designed for survival. Or domination," Kelma murmured. He didn't reply. Instead, he examined the next series of projections, snippets of intercepted public broadcasts, entertainment clips, and human literature. Scenes of alien invasions, soldiers fighting impossible odds, worlds burning, and humans emerging victorious again and again. "They have been imagining hostile extraterrestrials for at least a century," Kelma said, "and training themselves mentally to respond." "It's not fear," Vexter whispered. "It's preparation." A tone sounded, marking another incoming transmission from Earth. "Zilthran Fleet, this is UESC. Diplomatic vessel has departed. 3 escort carriers accompany for protocol. Weapons remain unarmed, unless provoked. Unarmed weapons. Escort carriers." Vexter had made first contact with dozens of species. Not once had a young civilization responded with such military precision, and politely explained their readiness as if it were normal. He opened the humans' historical documentation again. The video showed images of World War II, oceans of soldiers, cities swallowed by firestorms, clouds shaped like towering mushrooms rising into the sky. The human narrator's tone was calm, analytical, almost casual. "These conflicts accelerated technological progress," the scholar said. "Radar, jet propulsion, nuclear physics, early computers, rocketry, all born from wartime research." Vexter paused the video. "Humans turned catastrophe into momentum. They refined violence into innovation." A chime echoed as Kelma received a new alert. "Commander, the ambassador's vessel will arrive in 13 hours. Vexter stared out the window, watching faint lights. Earth's escort fleet, approaching like a trio of predators guiding prey. "Prepare full diplomatic protocols," he said. "But ready our shields. Weapon systems on standby, non-visible activation." Kelma hesitated. "Do you fear them, Commander?" Vexter was silent for several long moments. Fear was not a word he used easily. "I fear what we do not yet understand," he said at last. "Humans do not follow the natural order of growth. They leap instead of walk. They unite instead of fracture. They prepare for battles that haven't begun." He turned away from the window. "And beings who prepare for unseen enemies," he finished quietly, "are usually the most dangerous of all. The ambassador's arrival was no longer an event. It was a countdown. 13 hours until the galaxy met humanity face to face. 13 hours until Vexter discovered whether the humans were allies or an omen. The human vessels arrived exactly when they said they would, down to the second. Punctuality itself wasn't unsettling. Many species value precision, but the manner in which the humans arrived, that was something else entirely. Commander Vexter stood on the Harmonious Ascents Bridge as the formation came into view. The diplomatic craft, the Kofi Anan, drifted gracefully at the center, its hull gleaming with polished metal and warm lights. It resembled a peaceful envoy ship built for cultural exchange and diplomatic journeys. But the three escorts surrounding it shattered that image. They move in a triangular defensive pattern, so exact, Vexter wondered if the formation was guided by a single mind. Thick armored plating coated their hulls like the exoskeleton of predatory beasts. Along their sides were rows of sensor systems, weapon ports, and reinforced shield generators. These were not mere escorts. They were warships, deliberately positioned to appear calm, but ready to strike with catastrophic force. Kelma spoke from her console, her voice quiet with disbelief. "Commander, the escort vessels are running active targeting sweeps." "On us?" Vexter asked. "On everything. Our fleet, our station, even our emergency pods." A murmur passed across the bridge. "Are they locking weapons?" Vexter pressed. Kelma shook her head. "No, their scans aren't aggressive. They're informational. They're mapping every detail of our formation. Shield strength, structural integrity, probable firing vectors. So they'll know exactly how to kill us if they needed to." Vexter muttered under his breath. Moments later, the Harmonious Ascent received an incoming message from the diplomatic vessel. "Commander Vexter, Ambassador Elena Vasquez requests permission to board. She will bring 6 staff members and 2 security personnel. We assure you all weapon systems remain offline. Security personnel." Vexter swallowed his reluctance. Permission granted. Protocol demanded that he greet them in person, and he could not appear intimidated. As the docking bays cycled open, Vexter and his diplomatic staff stood in ceremonial attire, holding gifts representing their culture. Crystalline sculptures shaped by harmonic resonance, memory-encoded art collections, and musical artifacts. The airlock slid open with a hiss. The humans stepped through. Ambassador Elena Vasquez was small, at least compared to Zilthran's, but she walked with an air of confident precision. Dark hair tied back, posture straight, movements controlled. Her eyes were bright and attentive, scanning everything without appearing rude. "Commander Vexter," she said, offering a warm smile. "Humanity is honored to be here. We recognize the importance of this meeting." Her voice was smooth and steady. She spoke perfect Zilthran. No translation software no distortions. She had learned the language. Impressive. But Vexter's attention kept drifting to the 2 silent figures behind her. Human security. They wore plain uniforms with no visible weapons, yet every instinct screamed they were dangerous. Their stances were balanced, their gazes alert, their posture relaxed but coiled, like predators at rest. One of them, a tall blonde woman, briefly looked Vexter in the eye. Her expression revealed nothing. "Welcome aboard," Vexter said, regaining his composure. "We are honored to receive you." They exchanged ceremonial gifts. The humans offered cultural archives, literature, a sample anthology of planetary music, and a set of scientific findings designed to promote cooperation. Everything was diplomatic and appropriate. Yet Vexter couldn't shake the feeling that every detail was calculated. The walk to the conference chamber was smooth, polite, filled with harmless conversation. The ambassador admired the architecture, asked thoughtful questions about propulsion, and listened intently to explanations. Her security shadows, however, scanned every corner, exit, and corridor like they were mapping a battlefield. Inside the chamber, refreshments were offered. Vexter watched carefully as the ambassador accepted a glass of synthesized fruit infusion, testing trust, establishing mutual confidence. Once seated, she folded her hands in front of her. "Commander Vexter," she began, "please ask whatever questions your council needs answered." We believe in openness during first contact. Vexter didn't waste time. Ambassador, he said, your planet responded to our message in 4 minutes. You arrived with fully prepared escorts. Your protocols are military grade. This level of readiness is unprecedented. The ambassador nodded gently. We prepared for this moment decades ago. We hoped contact would come. When your message arrived, we simply activated procedures that have been in place for generations. Your procedures involve warships, Vexter said. Standard practice, she replied. We protect our diplomats. A peaceful greeting is stronger when backed by the guarantee of self-defense. It was polite, logical, reasonable, and undeniably a warning. Vexter inhaled slowly. We have studied your history, he said. Your development is atypical. You advance quickly, violently. How do we know you approach us with peace instead of ambition? The ambassador's smile faded, not with hostility, but with honesty. That is a fair question, Commander. And she began to tell humanity's story, not the version on diplomatic pamphlets. The real one, bloody, chaotic, brilliant, and terrifying. And as she spoke, Vexter understood. The humans weren't hiding their past. They were using it to define their future. The conference chamber dimmed as the ambassador activated a holographic array above the table. What appeared was not a sanitized version of Earth's past, not a polished timeline for tourists or allies. Instead, she revealed humanity's darkest chronicles with unnerving clarity. Before we speak of peace, Ambassador Vasquez began, you must understand the foundation of our unity. Images flickered across the projection. Desert scorched by ancient warfare, ironclad soldiers marching in tight formations, cannon smoke rolling over battlefields, human armies, century after century, evolving like the weapons in their hands. Humanity has fought itself for thousands of years, she said. Tribal conflicts, territorial wars, ideological clashes. We are not proud of these events, but they shaped us. Vexter glanced at Kelma. Her 3 eyes were wide, her skin pale. Most young species avoided their violent past during first contact. Humans showcased theirs strategically. Then the timeline accelerated. Massive ships bombarding coastlines during World War I. Trenches filled with soldiers wearing gas masks. Burning cities from World War II. The earth-shattering blast of nuclear weapons. 2 suns igniting over human civilization. The chamber fell deadly silent. This, Vasquez said softly, was a point when we realized something profound. If we continued down this path, we would not survive. Her fingers swiped the display, shifting the footage of scientific breakthroughs. So we changed, slowly, painfully, but deliberately. The hologram showed humanity's transition. Nations forming alliances, treaties written, space programs launched not as symbols of war, but as symbols of possibility. We unified after World War II, she continued. A planetary government followed. Some say it was fear. Others say it was wisdom. We say it was survival. Vexter leaned forward, fascinated despite himself. Your unity was driven by catastrophe, he said. Correct, the ambassador replied. We unified because we looked beyond our atmosphere and understood something simple. If intelligent life existed beyond Earth, they might not care about our divisions. So we ended them. She shifted the projection once more. Humans standing on the moon, their first outpost on Mars. Fusion reactors crackling with potential. Ships leaving trails of light across their solar system. We aimed for the stars, Vasquez said. And we prepared for everything. Peace, conflict, negotiation, or survival. Vexter tapped a hand against the table. And conflict remains a consideration? The ambassador didn't hesitate. Yes, our history has taught us that peace must be protected. Every species hopes for harmony, but hope is not a strategy. The 2 security officers behind her remained silent statues, absorbing every motion in the room. Their presence alone reinforced her words far more than any hologram could. Vexter cleared his throat. Your escort ships, their posture is intimidating. Intended. Kelma whispered under her breath. Vasquez looked between them. In diplomacy, Commander, clarity is vital. We show strength openly so that no species mistakes us for prey. This is not hostility. It is transparency. The ambassador paused and folded her hands again. Humanity does not seek conquest. We seek connection. But we have learned that trust is strongest when both sides understand the rules clearly. We come peacefully yet prepared. Vexter studied her carefully. Her posture was relaxed, her tone measured, her facial expression sincere. There was no aggression. And yet beneath everything, her words, her security detail, the escort fleet, lurked a silent declaration. We are peaceful, but we are not harmless. The ambassador continued, her tone softening. Commander, we want to join the galactic community. We want to learn and share knowledge. Our scientists dream of exchanging ideas with others. Our artists have always imagined cultures beyond Earth. We bring curiosity, not conquest. She took a sip of the offered drink, signaling trust. But, she added quietly, if danger comes, if someone threatens our survival or the survival of our allies, we will defend ourselves with everything we have learned from 10,000 years of hardship. The words lingered heavily in the chamber. Kelma exhaled shakily. Vexter slowly settled back into his chair. What you offer, he said, is a promise of cooperation and a warning of capability. The ambassador inclined her head. In equal measure, that is the only honest foundation for long-term peace. The rest of the meeting passed with calm discussions. Trade routes, cultural exchange, potential scientific collaborations. All polite, all hopeful, but beneath every sentence flowed an undercurrent of awareness. Humanity was unlike any species Vexter had encountered. They were both diplomats and warriors, both builders and destroyers, both dreamers and strategists. And as the humans departed the chamber to return to their ship, Vexter felt a weight settle on his chest. Commander? Kelma asked softly, what do you think of them? Vexter watched the humans disappear through the corridor. I think, he said slowly, that we have just met a species who will change the galaxy, one way or another. The Galactic Community Council chamber had not been this full in decades. Representatives from every starfaring civilization filled their seats, each species murmuring anxiously as Commander Vexter stepped to the central podium. Rays of pale light illuminated the open floor, casting long shadows across the vast circular room. Vexter steadied himself. He had addressed the council many times, yet never with such weight on his shoulders. My report on the species known as humans is complete, he announced, his voice echoing through the chamber. All data files have been transferred to the council's archive. I now await your questions. Silence. Then the High Counselor, a crystalline being whose voice rang like vibrating glass, spoke. Thank you, Commander. Let the discussion on humanity's petition for membership begin. Immediately, Counselor Thren of the Pacifist Collective rose, trembling visibly. His species had evolved on a paradise world where predators never existed. The concept of violence was traumatic to them. I must speak plainly, Thren said. Humanity is horrifying. Their psychological profile indicates extreme adaptability to fear, death, and violent conditions. Their world itself is lethal. Their evolutionary history is shaped by predators and recurring planetary catastrophes. They are, by definition, a survival-obsessed species. He activated a display that showed human evolution. Upright hunters pursuing prey across savannas. Forward-facing eyes for hunting. Thren continued. Endurance physiology allowing them to chase targets for hours. Pain tolerance far beyond galactic average. This is not a calm species. This is a species designed by nature that faced danger head-on. Uncomfortable murmurs rippled through the council. Next, High Scholar Ventique of the Archaeological Guild rose. His people studied the rise and fall of civilizations across thousands of years. It is important we remain objective, Ventique began. Every species experiences a warlike stage in its early growth. Humans may simply be going through their violent phase later than most. Admiral Krex of the Defense Coordination Corps shot to her feet, agitated. Her armored scales glinted as she projected humanity's technological timeline. Later, she said sharply, they progressed from wooden ships to quantum communication in 4 centuries. They colonized their moon and Mars while still aiming nuclear weapons at each other. Their technological leaps come directly from warfare. Look at this chart. Every major invention originates from military necessity. Laser systems, missile defenses, computer networks, early spacecraft engines, all connected to conflict. Krex folded her arms. They turned destruction into innovation. That is not a typical developmental arc. Counselor Bindar of the Trade Federation tapped his claws thoughtfully. Yet we cannot ignore the benefits. Their engineering efficiency is extraordinary. Their fusion cores rival our own. Their material science surpasses several founding members. Their offer to share knowledge could vastly improve our infrastructure. And in exchange, Thren snapped. We invite a potential apex predator into our community? The chamber erupted, voices overlapping, emotions rising. Vexter watched in silence, understanding both sides. Eventually, the High Counselor called for order. Ambassador Mira of the Diplomatic Corps rose slowly. Her species had negotiated peace across war-torn systems for centuries. I propose, she said, a middle path. The chamber quieted. We grant humanity provisional contact status for 50 Earth years. They may engage in communication and cultural exchange, but will not receive military technology or sensitive data. After 50 years, we evaluate their behavior. And if they prove dangerous, someone asked. Mira's expression hardened. Then we will have time to prepare. The words chilled Vexter. A temporary acceptance was really a warning and a shield. Debates continue for hours. They analyze human psychology, culture, ethics, family structures, creativity, and warfare. The council admired humanity's art, compassion, and scientific curiosity. But their entertainment, filled with battles, invasions, and survival against overwhelming odds, disturbed many. They celebrate competition. One counselor observed. In everything, another added. Sports, education, business, even love. Competition drives advancement, Bindar countered. Competition drives destruction, Thren argued back. On the third day, the final vote was taken. Each of the 47 civilizations cast their decision. The results appeared on a central screen. 24 in favor, 20 opposed, 3 abstentions. Humanity was accepted, barely. The High Counselor stood. Let it be recorded. Earth is granted provisional contact status. Full membership will be reconsidered in 50 Earth years. There was no celebration. Many representatives looked nervous. Others whispered quietly among themselves. Vexter noticed Admiral Krex standing with several military leaders from different species. Their conversation seemed tense. He approached. Admiral, what concerns you? Krex met his gaze with sharp, reptilian eyes. The Council has chosen to wait, she said. But we cannot afford complacency. If humanity becomes hostile, every species here will face extinction before we can react. You speak of preparing for war, Vexter said softly. I speak of survival, Krex corrected. Because if we wait 50 years, we might be too late. Vexter walked away feeling heavier than before. Humanity had been accepted, but only cautiously, reluctantly. Their future with the galaxy remained precarious. As he exited the chamber, he couldn't shake the feeling that the next 50 years would define the fate of countless worlds. 6 months passed. Humanity's provisional status had not settled nerves across the galaxy. If anything, it had sharpened them. Many species still whisper that humans were too aggressive, too fast-moving, too unpredictable. Others believe they were brilliant and necessary allies. But regardless of opinion, everyone agreed on one thing. Humanity was dangerous. And then the crisis began. A red alert rippled through the galactic community. The Kryn swarm had emerged again. The Kryn were not individuals. They were collective intelligence, a hive mind composed of billions of insectoid organisms that moved like a single organism. They consumed every living thing in their path. For centuries, the galaxy had tried to slow them, destroy them, or divert them. Nothing worked for long. Now, they had pushed into the core territories. The council chamber was in chaos as Admiral Krex projected a massive star map. Red clusters pulsed across the hologram. Kryn forces advancing like a spreading infection. They've already overrun 3 council systems. Krex said, her voice hoarse with tension. 4 billion evacuated from Pelton, but 2 million didn't escape in time. Screens showed the aftermath. Bleached landscapes, organic matter stripped away completely. The chamber trembled with fear. They are approaching the Frax homeworld next, Krex continued. If it falls, 6 billion will perish. A counselor shouted, Where's our defense fleet? Krex answered, 16 hours away, and our weapons will be ineffective. The Kryn adapt to energy signatures within hours. Every species argued at once. Some demanded evacuations. Some argued for stellar collapse weapons. Others insisted on negotiation, even though negotiation with hive mind species had failed a dozen times before. Then something unexpected happened. A transmission arrived through the limited channel granted to humanity. The High Counselor frowned. We are not in contact with Earth at this time. Why are they? Put it through, Krex ordered. The hologram shifted. Ambassador Vasquez appeared, no longer in her diplomatic attire. She stood inside Earth Space Command headquarters, wearing a uniform with a rank insignia Vexter had never seen before. Behind her, human officers moved with precise efficiency. Galactic Council, Vasquez said calmly, we've been monitoring the crisis in Sector 7. We believe we can assist. The chamber erupted with disbelief. You have analyzed the Kryn? A counselor demanded. How? You've known of them for only 3 months. Vasquez nodded. It was sufficient. A new figure stepped beside her, a stern human with gray hair and piercing eyes. I am General Marcus Williams, he said. We've reviewed every recorded battle involving the Kryn. They follow a classic pattern. Krex's eyes narrowed. Classic? There is nothing classic about the Kryn. You're mistaken, Admiral, the general replied. Their tactics mirror several ancient human adversaries, forces that relied on overwhelming numbers, rapid adaptation, and psychological shock. We've defeated similar strategies before. He activated a hologram showing Kryn attack formations overlapping with historical human battles. The Kryn are not fully decentralized, Williams explained. Their swarm behaves too cohesively. They must have mobile command nodes hidden in dense population clusters. The chamber fell silent. Destroy the nodes, Williams said, and their coordination breaks long enough to turn the battle. Vasquez transmitted a data packet. Inside is a full tactical analysis, she said. 37 exploitable weaknesses, 12 high-risk strategies, for potential endgame countermeasures. Krex examined the file. Her expression shifted from skepticism to astonishment. This is incredibly thorough, she murmured. You created this in 3 months? Humanity has spent thousands of years studying war, Williams replied. This is what we do when survival is at stake. The High Counselor looked wary. You offer this freely? Yes, Vasquez answered. Because if the Kryn aren't stopped here, they will eventually reach human territory. And because we don't abandon sentient life to extinction. Krex stepped forward. Your tactics, they require heavy casualties in the first wave. Williams nodded without hesitation. Sometimes sacrifices are required to expose an enemy's weakness. We believe the trade is justified. Some council members flinched at the cold pragmatism, but Krex understood it. Within hours, the defense fleet adopted the new tactics. Vexter watched in the command ship as the first wave made contact, taking devastating losses, but forcing the Kryn to shift formations. There, 3 dense clusters moved exactly as the humans predicted. Command nodes identified. Krex shouted, Second wave, engage! The second wave tore through the Kryn's coordination centers, and for the first time in recorded history, the swarm faltered. Confusion spread across their formations. Ships collided. Adaptation slowed. By the end of the battle, the Kryn retreated. Retreated, something they had never done before. The Frax homeworld was saved. Humanity's strategy had worked. Admiral Krex contacted Earth Space Command directly. Your analysis saved billions. You have our respect and our gratitude. Vasquez appeared again. We are glad we could help. If you need further support, we will assist. Krex hesitated, then asked the question on everyone's mind. Why are you so good at this? At war. Vasquez's answer was calm, honest, unsettling. Because our species almost went extinct countless times, she said. We learned to fight because we had to, and we learned to protect others because we know what it means to be alone against danger,